in business. Okay, great. So welcome guys. This is, as you can see, the breakaway session, which means it's actually the sandwich session before that denotes the end of the previous and probably importantly the beginning of the new. We'll see in future whether that format makes sense, but I thought, it makes sense because again, if you miss 2 sessions or whatever, then we kind of get to catch up and, check in with each other. We get to just have an open format conversation with no serious agenda as such, but other than really calibrating where everybody is at, and maybe some things which are topical. So there's a little bit of structure, as you will see, which I think is going to be very helpful for us, especially given that there's a lot of developments in the market, as you'll see in the next set of slides. So I'm just going to carry on. So this is the third one, but in terms of the journey, we've actually done 16 lessons or classes or modules, whichever you prefer. And all of them are beginner friendly. I mean, we didn't get to this intermediate level. We didn't get to this advanced level. And I don't think we'll really ever get to it anytime soon, because the intent is to try to keep it as friendly and as, just as organic as possible in terms of our growth. Because, we are doing this not teaching a class, but we are doing this for the benefit of the community. And we obviously, I think most of the data that we got was that most of us are still in a beginner and slowly, building up our capability. So welcome, my friend Paul. I think you are able to join again today. Paul, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. From Stand-a-thon. welcome. And Kevin?
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Excellent. So we just started. So we are on breakaway number 3, as I was saying. I think you guys have been part of the breakaways previously, so not so much of an introduction. So I'll just carry on with just the rest of the slides, and let's see what we have. So, I mean, I think you guys know this quote by heart by now, and I'm happy that you guys are also referencing it. And this is so important. I don't know whether you guys are I'm finding myself in almost a deja vu moment, because all of a sudden in the US, this is hot topic among members of Congress and senators, including the likes of Elizabeth Warren, who is now talking very strongly about crypto. So it's almost like we're actually ahead of the curve ourselves. In Kenya, I mean, I've had some very strong commentary in the past week or so against one of the leaders who was speaking very negatively about crypto. So, and I think the point, and which I've maintained, it's a group of about 250 or thereabouts, very senior leaders in Kenya, just around the need for a crypto strategy, that you must have a crypto strategy. And we'll see that in some of the updates that are developing. So again, this is our mantra. This is, point of view, which allows us to be able to progress. I think this slide, again, this is one of those thoughts that I thought to share the last time, but it's worth mentioning that this fits somewhere very strategic. It fits the whole of crypto and blockchain in particular, which crypto sits on top of the internet. So, and before, I think I've talked about the internet of information, and now we have the internet of value. So when people, when you hear people talk anyhow about crypto and they say it doesn't have any utility, you look at them boldly in the eye and tell them that actually, no, this is the internet of value actually that we are living in. And finally, not the slide that I'll major on because I'm running the session. You guys are, you know me, so I don't need to belabor this. I don't think there's any new people as such in the room. I think this is where we'll start. So this will be a standard fixture for us where we'll be checking in to just know where things are in the market, because I think whereas we are long-term, because it's a very fledgling new field, we will always look at what are the things that are happening that are moving the markets. As you'll see in the next slide, we'll talk about that. So this is like a barometer. We're gauging, are we teetering towards red? Actually, I should have changed this. It's actually, we are more towards amber, towards red. You'll see why. So let me just carry on to that section. So Do you guys remember this slide? Those of you who attended the session the last time. Anybody remembers this slide? Yes?
I do not, I guess.
Okay, anybody who remembers? Let's see those who have who got A in school, in memory class. Oh God, it's gonna be fun. Anybody remembers this slide?
I do not.
I must have missed the session where you showed this slide.
Guys, this yeah, it was in the last session, actually. It was in the last session. But some of you are in the room. So this community edition, I'm not teaching you guys, by the way, we're discussing. I'm going to share just a point of view. So I'm not teaching you like, oh, this, that, the other, you know, this concept, crypto staking or anything like Kevin would teach or Jeremy or any of that. I'm not teaching. It's a discussion. It's a chat. So please unmute. There's no format. You're just going to unmute and talk. In fact, I don't even have a survey for that reason, because our breakaways will probably not have surveys or anything, but it will be interactive because the whole session, that's the whole idea. Anybody who remembers? Save us, please. Somebody has to remember. Where's Lena? Lena, I think she's struggling with connectivity. Anybody remembers this slide? Bianca, did you see it before this slide?
Sorry, I can't recall them.
Okay, that's why.
Yes,
yeah.
Some of it looks familiar, but yeah, no.
I think Lena should remember for us. Please, Lena, save us. Save us. You are the A student.
What was the question again? Because my network is not really okay.
Okay, do you remember this slide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this slide is, and so I'm just saving you because of your connectivity. So this slide is actually what we covered the last time when we talked about the cryptocurrency ecosystem or crypto ecosystem. I'm actually going to calibrate the words we use. We'll probably avoid using the word cryptocurrency. We're going to be using crypto assets or just crypto, because none of them is the currency except probably Bitcoin in El Salvador. Because when we say currency, then we are denoting, it's actually a bit of a misnomer. So, but we're going to be safe when we use crypto asset. Now, just as a reminder, and this now becomes a framework, we're going to be a standard fixture when it comes to updates of the markets. So reg is regulation and regulators. So the main players in the ecosystem are regulators. In fact, okay, number one is innovators. So these are the people who are pioneering the technology, and that's why the whole conversation started anyway. Beyond ICO, those that have listed utility coins, tokens, whatever it is. So the innovators would be those ones, and then including the coins themselves. So whatever you'll find on CoinMarketCap represents that. In fact, I think I'll expand this so that it becomes a bit more. This is our own unique thing, by the way. If you look anywhere, you'll never find this anywhere. This is original to us. And these are our tools. You'll see it when we talk about some of the utility, some of the tools we've developed. Then now, investors are institutions, individuals, whether those are retail or corporate, who are putting in money into this space. Now, for retail investors like you and me, we are probably on the speculative end, where we're saying, this coin will go up, we're buying stake in that. But there's a deeper, there's a reason why I'm putting it in this context and spending a bit of time, because I want us not to be shallow when we talk about crypto. I don't want us to be shallow because there's a depth to this ecosystem that goes beyond coins. And the next set of series would actually focus in part on some of these elements. So there are businesses which are coming out as a result of this, and not just the coin. So we may want to really understand. And there's a lot of venture capital, there's a lot of investment money, big, huge sums of money. There are investment houses like Gemini and Andre Horowitz and his outfit and all these other ones that are putting in a lot of money. Now, influencers is the next category, and by default you have the likes of Elon Musk, and somebody I'm really beginning to really listen to a lot lately is Michael Saylor, who is almost like you know, like a really, somebody's become a really a big crypto evangelist in this space. So in fact, Bitcoin evangelist, let me put it that way. And then, you know, so these are very important forces within the market. We all know how when one tweet from Elon would really pull the price down and so on. And then we go to regulators. So if you look, are you seeing a trend here? There's from green, solid green to a little bit of, you know, then to amber or whatever the color that is, and then to red. Are you seeing that in that table? It's a table actually. And it's a deck of cards, whichever way you want to see it. Are you guys seeing that it's the different color schema?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah. So the summary is this: innovation is thriving. We are north of 10,000 coins on CoinMarketCap, and in fact 11,000. It's very healthy, extremely healthy, extremely crazy. It's green. There are no stoppers there. Now, when it comes to investors, there's a lot of investment money coming in. No problem there. When it comes to influencers, we've had people who've had positions who are really pro Bitcoin, who are very bullish, who are all of a sudden deciding, no, you know, I'm actually not as bullish. The likes of Elon Musk, or who changed their mind, or, oh, Bitcoin should now be green. So that's why we have a 50-50 there. It's a bit amber. And then where the biggest work and the biggest burden right now is the regulators. And regulators is everything from governments to you know, the particular specific authorities that are doing, you know, oversight, to the taxman. Regulators is, you know, regulatory frameworks, laws, everything is there. Parliamentarians, senators, congressmen, whatever the structures are in each of the jurisdictions, because there's no regulation anywhere at the moment. So now let me come to what moves the markets. You know, that's why we call this big moves. Now, I'm going to reuse this framework for our benefit and then recap. Now, some of the biggest bullish things that have happened this past, you know, since we spoke about in the last 2 weeks or so, is Germany have passed regulation effective this past Monday that allows investment houses to hold up to 20% in crypto. That's a very bullish sign. This is big money. And then conversely, on the regulatory side of things, the US is actually targeting to tax crypto to death, for lack of a better word. They are seeking to gain or to get 28 billion in what they're calling the infrastructure fund. I don't know if you guys have just seen that headline in the past few days. So that's something that they are putting in. And then there's a lot of lobbying within the crypto community to try to say, hey, guys, don't kill the this don't kill I don't know what's the right expression for it. So essentially saying, you know, you guys are being too heavy-handed. And then the Gary Gensler, who was I think a professor at MIT, who's now the chairman at the Securities Exchange in the US, gave a long-winded speech, was it yesterday, which just created a lot of controversy, because he was saying, yeah, you know, every exchange will be treated as every coin and everything will actually, you know, every exchange will be treated as a brokerage, which means all the rules that brokerages have to apply to an exchange, as well as it's essentially just really heavy-handed regulation on the back of crypto. But again, those were his thoughts. That's not the Security Exchanges Commission position yet, but those were his personal views. Now, from an industry perspective, he was seen as somebody who was actually pro-Bitcoin, pro-cryptocurrency, because he taught, in fact, he's given a masterclass from MIT, which you can find online. I'll share it with you, where he teaches these concepts when he was a professor. But now, because he's sitting on the regulatory side, he seems to be lifting a hammer. Now, I'm going to open up in a minute to ask you guys, maybe this, because this is really the nexus of the big discussion. We're going to drill down into Binance and then talk a little bit about that. Then I'll give you my thoughts around the influencers and who you should listen to and what you should look for. And then I'm going to talk about the investors, the likes of Google and Amazon, potentially certain things, and including disclaimers. And then I'm going to talk about the innovation space. So let me just ask this question to us. Regulation, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Is it a bullish sign, or is it something that is gonna just pull the market down? What are your thoughts? Again, it's a discussion. As I said, this is just updates. What do you guys think?
I think in a lot of cases, regulation comes way too late with a very backwards understanding of the innovation. So it doesn't, so in a lot of times, for example, governments don't seem to pass laws that fit the development of innovations. In a lot of cases, it's actually hindering the innovation because they have a very, I guess, conservative view on what innovation is actually doing. That's my view on it.
Absolutely, spot on. I couldn't agree more, Tangi. That's actually, I mean, you've really given us the summary of it so beautifully. Thank you so much for that. Any other point of view? Yeah, go ahead, Tangi.
I was just saying, I appreciate what you said.
You're welcome. Any other view on regulation, whether it's a bullish sign, is it a good thing? What are your thoughts?
I'll say there has to be regulation in any industry that is expansive and big enough to be noticed, just to have a safety, a safety net, as it were, or to protect the investments of especially the individuals. We've seen quite a number of cases where people just come and scam and take people's money away in billions. So that aspect of regulation is needed. But as far as promoting the industry, I think what Tangi said is spot on. The regulators really need to get up to speed and really see what promotes the advancement of the economy and society generally, rather than trying to fund or defend the established legacy institutions, because we are now looking into new spheres of opportunity. And if you look at latest technology, we know historically that innovation has always led the way to mainstream and established systems in future. So I think there just has to be that balance.
Mm-hmm. That's a very balanced view, Jeremy. And I actually like the way you just put it, to say, in fact, what Gary's argument, the SEC chairperson or chairman, was that they cannot be neutral. He's neutral to technology and innovation, or at least that's what I was trying to say. He's neutral to crypto, but he cannot be neutral about the investor protection aspect. And a lot of what he was trying to say was that he's actually putting, he's proposing, or his thoughts were more around protection of the investor, which somewhere, I followed the debate a little bit, on Twitter, and people were saying like, yeah, we know this is speculative. We know, like, leave us alone, because most of us, I think we're in the space, are enthusiasts. So we obviously understand that there's a level of risk from that speculative aspect. We kind of know, and we can jump in there. But I think from a regulatory perspective, obviously you can't say, okay, you're on your own, good luck. So from a regulator perspective, they'll obviously want to do that. And I think some of the also, as you'll note in the discussion around Binance in particular, some of the restrictions that they faced, including banks saying, no, we're not going to allow cards to buy crypto assets on these platforms, was on the pretext, or genuinely for good or for worse, that we are trying to protect our clients. To say, I'm not allowing you, Bianca or Lena, to use your Barclays Visa card to buy crypto anymore, because now we're trying to protect you. As if it's not enough to say, the warnings that they normally send you to approve a transaction because it's international or whatnot. So I think that's a really, really big aspect. Any other thoughts on this one? Before I give the update on the other ones, what they mean. Any other person who may want to just share their thoughts? Kevin, Theo, Kato, know you're here for the first time, but I'm sure you have some thoughts on regulation. I mean, honestly, it's not complicated. I mean, I think, you know, any other person who may want to share anything around regulation? Was this a good sign or something negative? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
I was going to say that if regulation was able to get up to speed quickly and to understand really what innovation is about, for example, Bitcoin or fintech or whatever,
Yeah.
I think it actually can benefit the innovation and the market,
Yes.
making
Yes.
it fair and just. But that's not what I'm seeing right now when it comes to fintech or other technologies.
Thank you. You've actually said the most important point that we care about in the room, which is regulation can be very, you know, can be progressive, which it should now legitimize this. And everybody now will say, because remember, each one of us, we're actually ahead of the curve, guys. I don't know whether you realize that. We jumped into this thing before there was any regulation anywhere. Now, what is happening is a retrofit. You know, these senators and the likes, you know, in the US and whatever, are coming on the back of that and saying, and mostly for other reasons. Others are like the tax person will be looking at, yes, how do we fix our hole in terms of revenue? You know, so you will find that a lot of that is reactive and regressive. But progressive regulation would try to really make sure that the industry is nurtured and legitimizes it and allows a lot more people to come in, because now it will be like, no, we are not going to call it a scam because regulated. You know, there's a framework that says you're protected. There's a framework that says you can come in and you can be safe. As an investor, you're not gambling or anything like that. Obviously, there's a certain bare level of KYC and the likes that the exchanges have done, but they have not really been rendered under a regulation explicitly because the guidelines mostly have not been very clear. In fact, that's a frustration from, and by this, not because that crypto players are not interested in regulation. It's just that I think the regulators don't know how to. I've listened to, you know, whether it's the Fed chair, the deputy chair in the US, very brilliant thinking. Because again, there is a lot of convoluted, sometimes use cases that they are trying to position. Because I mean, the technology is without a doubt revolutionary, but I think they're trying to really find an angle that will be optimal, and I don't think we found that yet. So, what I've said in summary, there are attempts in the US. There are very progressive steps in Germany. And obviously, we know the explicit case in El Salvador, which is a small case, which obviously allowed and piloted Bitcoin as a currency within that country. So those are positive things. Now, let me talk about the other elements for our purposes. Now, from an innovator perspective, Bitcoin, I think the last time we were, it was around the 30,000 range. I think it actually moved up to about 42, and then it's around 38 or somewhere there. If you saw Uli's comment, he thinks that it's actually going to still pull back down, but overall the sentiment is bullish. I mean, it's gonna go up definitely. So we keep using our strategy of, you're looking at that good entry point where you buy and then of hold, because of course that's how we're doing it within this community, or at least that's the strategy that makes sense. Now, EIP 1559. I know Jeremy knows this quite well. Finally, this is the upgrade of Ethereum in summary, which essentially would seek to bring some changes into Ethereum, quite fundamental actually, which will mean that Ethereum will begin to be deflationary in format. I mean, the release of the coins within the Ethereum ecosystem will continue, but now they are going to reduce over time. Apparently, they're going to burn them. That's what they call it in crypto speak. And it will reduce those over time. And what that means, almost in equivalent, if you're familiar with the idea of Bitcoin halving, which happens every 4 years, the circulation and supply, there will be an implication on circulation and supply. It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar concept. Which means what? What we care about for those who are Ethereum invested is that this actually would potentially drive up price over time. So it's a very bullish sign, just to put it that way. So for those of you who are, holding Ethereum, this is potentially a very, very good sign. And then for Google, this is more from an advertiser perspective. From the 2nd of August, Google is allowing advertising again on cryptocurrency because they had absolutely closed that door. The same with Facebook. Facebook has not given a position yet. So that again is a bullish sign. So those are things, I mean, which I think are worth noting. So I'm just saying the big moves. And then Amazon, they have been very silent. They have not wanted to comment on whether they are doing anything with crypto. But what I know for sure from at least some of the things they are doing online, they are hiring people, crypto, digital, currency experts, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So that tells you it's definitely something definitely cooking. They obviously are very tight-lipped generally. Theo, your people. But it's a good sign. I think the overall sentiment in this all moves is that it's actually overall bullish and very positive for crypto. And then lastly, and I think importantly, before we get to the next slides, which we'll talk about, we're going to talk about Binance specifically because we've all been using it and we recommend it on this platform. So I'm going to give a guideline at the end of it all. In terms of influencers, we all have our own views about Elon Musk, and I think those views may as well continue to be. I'm not going to rein in to try to say change your views about Elon Musk. You're entitled to those views. But the one that I think I'm going to strongly request and recommend, because I'm going to teach a masterclass, not in this next set of 4, but I'm going to teach it most likely September or October. I'll tell you what's happening in September. That's why I'm going to teach specifically on Bitcoin. I've never taught on Bitcoin. I've taught on Doge. I thought I'll teach on Cardano, but maybe not. I'm not going to teach on Cardano, but I'm going to teach on Bitcoin. But there's one guy who's become an authority, who's become a voice as far as Bitcoin. His name is called Michael Saylor. He's preaching and evangelizing Bitcoin like crazy. I had never thought of Bitcoin like the way he's saying it. It's actually making me think again and say, wow, I think I don't even know anything about Bitcoin. And here I am teaching. So I would say Michael Saylor, I've shared some of his thought leadership material. So I would say check him out. He's saying quite a lot of interesting things that might open up your mind. Are we good? Cool. So I think let me just carry on to the next set of slides. I'm not going to really major on this one because I think it's housekeeping. We all know that we are here to learn. And again, this is not academic. We try to be practical and we try to really share things that are going to help us, Great. Again, the most important in this nexus is actually doing your own research and then applying, and of course, attending these sessions. I'll probably campaign a little bit around the end around attendance and being engaged. And then these are the tools. So I think the last one which you just saw is the ecosystem players, which is just a summary. As I said, it's a unique framework. If you go on Google anyway, you'll find a lot of very confusing pizza pie, which might not really help you for clarity's sake. So I'm going to look, so we've looked at some of the updates general. So we're still going to continue with that as a theme. And then we're going to look specifically on Binance, and then we're going to close with some community updates. And then, of course, I'll talk through the crypto index. So let's get on with it. So Binance, are we familiar with the latest headlines in the last couple of weeks, especially mostly July? I think there was a lot of headlines that what has happened. Maybe I'll just, if you're familiar, type a 1. If you're not familiar, type a 2. I just want to quickly filter this one. And then this is going to be an open chat, by the way. So again, it's an open session. So I'm not teaching, as I said. I spent a lot of time on the first one just because I wanted to make sure that we had a good recap and a latching point. A 1, if you're familiar of what's been happening. A 2, if you're absolutely clueless, on the chat. Okay, let's see. Sentiments. Okay. Let's see. Any others? 1, if you're familiar. I like 3 in between. Okay, good. So then we are in the right place because I mean, again, it's you saw in the headline in our regulatory space that Binance has been a bit of a pickle the last couple of weeks. Does anybody care to just share some headline thoughts on what they had? I know it's a pity Uli is not here because Uli was even giving some very strong views around Binance and BNB and so on. But again, I think I'm always a little bit more measured in my view to say, I want us to discuss as a community. I'm not going to, unless if something like that, if I really feel strongly, then you'll hear it from me that I'll say, hey guys, you need to withdraw your monies or anything like that. I have not given any guideline like that yet. Any thoughts from the floor on what happened to Binance and what has been happening? Just unmute. Kevin, Theo, you guys were on the one. And then the rest of us will benefit from your what you have to share. Anyone who wants to share your thoughts on Binance, what has been happening, and what do you think? Anyone, honestly, this is our conversation. It's not Tim's conversation.
Tim, for me, put a one, but maybe my recollection might be a bitter cake. But I haven't really been on the ball with crypto for the last 2 weeks. But I know that at the beginning of July, I think globally speaking, it's like there was an onslaught on Binance from the UK, even here in South Africa. I guess the central banks were issuing all sorts of warnings. And that's as far as I can remember. But maybe in the meantime, there've been more headlines with precise information.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much the sentiment. Any other person who has another view other than that, what Jeremy has shared? Okay, so maybe the summary is this, is pretty much what Jeremy has shared. So Binance has been on the news and, made headlines for that reason, that the UK, the FCA, the Financial Control Authority in the UK, banned it from conducting any regulated activities in the UK. That's actually a very loaded statement. I actually read the whole, what it really means. And I'll share that in the next set of slides, what it really means. And then Ontario, Canada, later on Malaysia, and then other jurisdictions like Italy, the Netherlands, probably what you'd call the EU. And then, so obviously, I mean, thankfully in the US, I think you have Binance US, which is registered there. And I think there wasn't really too much headline as such, specifically on from the US strictly. But because that was, I mean, they already have a body that is regulated and probably registered in the US and so on. But the headline was mostly from the UK, Canada, Europe, the European Union, those areas, and saying that Binance was not allowed to conduct business. And then obviously the outflow here in South Africa was what we saw in banks banning the use of, buying crypto using cards and so on, which obviously is not, is concerning, isn't it? So, and then the question is, I mean, is this game over? Is it over for Binance? Should we panic? Should we withdraw our money quickly? Should we quickly, Theo, you're the one who's a little bit fresh. You've been doing a little bit of research on P2P. What should we do, my friend? Should we quickly withdraw our money? so sell our coins in a hurry, because this thing is crashing, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Theo, or any of the guys?
Well, I mean, I think there's no need to withdraw your coins, except maybe no, but even at then, maybe if I'm holding for a very long time, actually what I do is I always have what do you call them again? Cold wallets. Is it that you use I think there are a number of software wallets that it would be on your own device and it's not on any exchange. And if you don't trust softwares, there are hard wallets that are like USB. So you are looking at your money in your house. You probably put it in your vault at home, and you are the only one that has the keys to the vault or something. So if you want to hold for a long time, and you don't want to trust any of the exchanges, just move your money to your own personal wallet. And in terms of panic sales, I think the prices will come up again, just like you said. Just chill and wait for the prices to come up. No worry.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. You've actually spoken for most of us in the room. Does anybody feel differently? Like, honestly, I don't want to just to us to write on, because I tend to be that person who's optimistic, you know, in fact, I think to a fault. Is there anybody who's feeling differently? Paul, have you sold yours? Or are you still on the local one? I'm not sure. I think you're on Luna or something.
I'm on Luna.
Oh, okay. You're safe. You're local. In fact, because I mean, this is a very good sign for the local exchanges, the likes of Altcoin Trader. But honestly, I mean, yeah. Oh, if you have any thoughts, please share. I mean, it's an open discussion. It's not, there's no right or wrong. We're just sharing what we know.
Yes.
Item.
Yeah,
Just,
Bianca, go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been a huge supporter of the local platforms like Altcoin Trader and a bit of Luno. But I totally agree with the previous speaker. I have moved all my coins into a cold wallet. So yeah, that's it. You don't want to keep it on an exchange and then the exchange disappear and then gone is your coins.
It sounds like you speak from some experience. Like, no, I
For
really
sure,
like.
for sure.
Please, I really like that. I really like that.
Fingers burned, learn the lesson, and then mature in it.
Thank you. That's wisdom right there. That's why we are the community, right? Because we find safety in community, because Tim might tell you, no, you're okay, you're fine. And then you realize the thing tomorrow crashes or whatever. Now, go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think this is a classic case of don't put all your eggs in one basket, you know? So
yes.
For us here who have alternatives like Altcoin Trader or Luno or any other platform. So if you had maybe money invested mostly into Binance, I think you should reconsider that. So personally, Binance, I haven't really put in much. So whatever is in there, I'm keeping it there just to play around with it and see how far this thing will go and ride the wave, as it were. But should things really tank, I mean, it tanks, or you make a plan like those cold wallets, for instance, you know, especially if you have a lot of funds already invested. But I'm not planning to make any further investments into the Binance exchange. Really, I don't think I'll keep doing it, because I mean, I don't even think I'm able to in any case. So just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, also quite honestly, I think we're in a tepid season because the markets is swinging at a certain point, and I think if our theory holds, which says there might still be a little bit of correction before a bit of a move up, because September tends to be that season, by the way. September picking up, it gets really things begin to pick up. But obviously, I don't know. I mean, again, as with the market, none of us can predict, and that's really not the point of why we do these sessions, because we have a longer lens. Kevin, I'm curious with your staking. Are you pulling away? I don't know. Just honestly, your thoughts.
Okay, I think okay, on my side, I still have a bit there on Binance. I'm not very worried about what's going on now. I think eventually these things will be resolved. So I still have my coins there, but I think it's good also to see how, I mean, depending on your strategy, to mitigate some of the risks that we are seeing. So maybe another exchange or the wallets, etc.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Kevin. So let me give some perspective in the room, because I mean, there's a reason I was asking this, and I felt it was an important discussion point, because I don't want us to just jump, because we're investors, right? The worst thing you can do is just to panic jump. So here's some perspective around what is affected and what's not affected. So quite honestly, the headline screams Binance has been banned. And then you think, and then you obviously, I mean, people panic, others, thankfully, I think none of us in the room necessarily panic. But for perspective, The specific area where this is affected is actually what you call derivatives. I'm not a finance person as such, but I did a bit of Googling and checking around. So derivatives includes what they call futures, options, swaps. They even have an additional thing that they created, which was an innovative thing that they call tokenized stock. It's not there as a derivative strictly, but that was not even banned, but they just said, look, we're going to pull it off. We're not going to make it available for people to buy. Now, the rest of the platform things, none are not really affected, to be honest. Let me put it, it's not, they're not really, crypto itself is not affected. You can still buy your crypto, you can still sell it, you can still stake, you can still trade. Because those are not, I mean, they are just, there's no rule that really regulates that. I mean, there's no regulator. There are no rules yet for those particular ones, because they're just known as crypto assets, and that's how they are seen. So the only thing which I was mentioning earlier was around if at all the regulation will pass that this will be seen as an exchange, as a brokerage, as exchanges, I mean, crypto exchanges as brokerages, and that's a different thing. But that we are very far away from that. So just for perspective, calm down. Nobody's banning anything to do with crypto. It's just really more the sentiment around Binance, because of course they need to be registered, whatever it is that the regulators in those countries want. But the specifics which are affected, which I know none of us is really invested unless you really are very advanced, is the derivative aspect. Now, other things that they have, their innovations, their payment cards, or the Binance card, their payment solutions, and all these other things that they have, those ones I don't think they are really affected. So I hope that really helps us in terms of getting perspective. And so because I don't want us to, because I'm very careful, when you may see something posted on the group, I don't want people jumping in, that, Binance is down or whatever it is. There's just a little bit more of obviously disclaimers that they'll put in, try to make sure they protect themselves and so on. The next other thing, is that clear? I hope that makes sense for us, so we don't really need, as far as those of us who are buying coins, we don't really need to worry that much. I'm going to give some guideline in the next 2 slides. Now, if you look, I shared this this week on the community. Some of you may have seen or may not. Still, if you look, by far, Binance remains the largest exchange, by far. If you compare it by the volume of Bitcoin that is held on the exchange itself. I mean, this has over 2,000, Bitcoin on the wallet that is, is held by Binance. The rest are still, they're very small, and obviously that tells you how much liquidity they have and so on. So from what we learned earlier in terms of exchanges, I would still say Binance is still a valid exchange. The only thing is that we obviously need to be aware of this news, and then we need to be able to take appropriate action. We've kind of touched on some of the actions here, but I'm going to give a guideline for the community in the next slide. So I think with that said, as you are aware, in fact, Coinbase, Binance, Bitfinex, Huobi, and Kraken were among our top 5 global. That excludes Luno and Altcoin Trader from our previous sessions. So those remain valid exchanges to look at, And for me, there's a certain level of hypocrisy to some extent, as far as the sentiment on by the regulators, because we have not had as much said about Huobi, who are as big, maybe not as aggressive as Binance was, or as well known. I've not had, I think Bitfinex, I've not had as much the same with Coinbase. I've not had anything about Coinbase. So to me, I just read it as there's a certain game that is being played somewhere. I'm not wanting to be conspiracy theorist here, but I'm just saying that if it is something to do with being strict and hard, then it should actually apply to everybody, not just Binance. But of course, we've qualified that what exactly is being affected at Binance level. Now, this is the community guideline, which I'll give. And I think we've socialized it from just what you guys shared in your thoughts. So the first one is, strategy number 1 is to really minimize, So if you have if you put all your eggs in one basket, which is Binance, then it's actually, I think the advisory here would be, maybe you need to minimize. If you put all your coins you've only bought from Binance, perhaps this is time for you to look at it, just to see how you can reduce your investment. You can reduce, those and diversify to either another wallet or a cold storage, which obviously means you take it from the exchange and put it somewhere where it's safe. And then, yeah, so that speaks to so you minimize, you reduce as much as possible. The second, which is around diversify, just really the same concept, but differently, which is have more than one exchange. And I think I've always supported that idea to say, have a local exchange, have a global exchange. In fact, have at least one local exchange and maybe, 2 global ones, so that you can always have that flexibility. I really like the analogy that Jeremy gave around putting your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's just a sound principle that we use. And then for, again, maybe discretionary, which I think is fair, and again, individual decisions are respected, is there's option to just say, look, I think I'm going to, like Bianca said, I'm going to move all my coins if I'm not staking and I'm not doing anything that is active within the exchange, because staking is probably what will keep you there. Then I probably just exit. I really completely pull away from Binance in terms of keeping any coins there. You could still buy. I mean, I think it still makes sense because, there's no other exchange that has as many coins and options as Binance. You can still buy if you're still able to. Now, the other thing which I'll mention, which is not listed here, is around just being a little bit more aware of the fact that there's regulation coming in, and you may want to really begin to keep track of some of your major moves in crypto. I'm not saying this is not going to hit us probably in the next 12 months immediately. I suspect it will be probably 12, 18 months horizon, but there's a certain signal by whether it's the revenue services or regulators broadly in terms of just trying to really track activities. There's a little bit of some unrealistic proposals of those who are saying we want to track, where you're buying stuff, we want to know what miners are doing and so on. Over-regulation also fails because, again, if regulators are not even able to keep tabs with traditional instruments, how can they keep tab with the wild west, which is crypto? So I think those would be the thoughts. Is there any sentiment on the floor other than, over and above that, or just echoing back that? Welcome, Carol. Nice to have you.
Tim.
Yeah.
You mentioned you don't want to be controversial, but of course, we can see Binance is basically saying China,
Yes.
We just need to call a spade a spade.
Yes,
So
yes.
this has been the disruptor.
Yes.
The whole data,
Yeah.
The whole crypto ecosystem. And you can see these guys, of course, are beating hands down the American exchanges and all these other guys.
Yes.
So they have to pin them down somehow.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't self-inflict wounds to themselves. You see?
Yeah.
So once they would have cut them to size, they'll chill. So it's one of those tactics. We don't need to go far to fetch it even on Google. We just see it. And those are the big boys up there. What can you do?
Exactly. No, you're right, Jeremy, and you've said it so well. Yeah, no, absolutely. You've said it. I think we've seen it in almost every iteration of this innovation that we've had. So yeah, guys, that's actually, any other thoughts? I'm going to move into the top 5 crypto index subsequently. I think that should be clear, right? I think we know what to do. The main takeaway is actually this. I just want to make sure everybody knows what we need to do so that we are not in the dark. Cool. Thank you, Bianca, for confirming on behalf of the community. Great. So I think we're going to look at the top 5 index. I'm actually going to reuse, I'm actually replaying the same index that we had the last time because I felt that we're still in the same conditions. Nothing really has changed. I felt like, should I add some few coins? And I thought, no, it doesn't really make sense. Because again, our movements are a little bit more, the index idea is really, you're tracking it for a period of time. So what we had previously remains. I think the themes remain, I think I would say, and I've not probably emphasized this previously as I need to, is the 2 leaders, we need to always have a strategy for them. We need to always have a strategy for Bitcoin and Ethereum because those are the 2 ones that run 70% of the market. So they're inevitable. The share of Bitcoin is, kind of There's, it's reducing in part in some cases, but also it's very, very strong from an institutional perspective. Equally with Ethereum, with some of the developments that they have, including the EIP 1559, which I mentioned earlier. So in fact, some people are like, yeah, Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin and all of that. But again, the use cases are different. And it's always good, again, using the analogy that Jeremy gave us, that we should have diversify our basket, not put all our eggs in one basket. Now, so having said that, I think the themes remain largely around smart. That's where you have the likes of Solana, Cardano, and Hedera. Those are smart. And so the three of the five in this list, sorry, because ADA is actually the same color, that's why you can't really see it, which is Cardano, sorry, I didn't actually see that. You see it here, it's there. So the three, the smart space, the smart ecosystem is actually one that I think is worth investing in, continue to invest in. And I think I'm really want to emphasize that we shouldn't just not be stuck with coins. We need to look at what are the entities and what are the businesses that are emerging that are going to be flagship companies in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So we need to look at beyond the coin, what is emerging, beyond the model of, this is a very obviously pioneer kind of business model that we're having using the coins. And then again, I mentioned niche players like Link and Matic, which proved, Matic was quite resilient in the recent correction. And I think it's worthwhile having such in your portfolio. And yeah, so I think really, I just want to say, this is just a guide for us. And the thinking with this index is that it will simplify your research. You don't really have to look at thousands and thousands. You just have 5, narrow down. Even I've given you the themes. I've even tried to highlight to say the likes of Cardano remain very, very strong from a roadmap perspective. Hopefully they deliver the roadmap, because there's been a lot of sentiment that they have been delaying. Their process obviously is very appealing. Their philosophy and their focus seems to be very interesting. Hedera, I actually, they have a lot of institutional support. The likes of Standard Bank are actually big players and big business, big institutions, invested in Hedera. But it's, it's slightly different model. I don't want to go into the technology, but I think it's worth looking at this and just, zeroing in a little bit more and just seeing which ones you'll pick up. So I think I'm going to just go to the last bit. Is there any comment or any thoughts on this one? I think it's just really a reiteration of what you may have seen previously. Do you guys find this useful? Yes?
No, it's good. It keeps us
Okay.
in the loop as to what's going on with this, some of these top coins, yeah.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. Now, as we go to a wrap up, and I have just 3 slides to go. This is more the community updates section, if you will. I think I really want to encourage us, and I think, we had a session this week with the champions, who are just the guys who are, taking a little bit more responsibility together with myself and Julia to trying to really pioneer and push forth this agenda, to say, if each one of us was deliberate, just to say, welcome, Stella, welcome on board. It's good to have you. So it's actually a good thing. Imagine if each one of us just reached out to the next person and said, hey, we have this community going on, we are learning every week, and there's a lot of value that we're gaining. Imagine how far we can go. And I'm just going to show you how far our reach is, to date. So I shared this slide with the champions, and I just thought to lift it and share it with the rest of us, because I thought it's going to just give us some perspective. So far we've reached about 14 countries across Africa. Our impact, our reach, our classes, or all of that, that excludes anything that we may have posted online that somebody saw, which we don't know, but people registrations and people who've attended the sessions have been from across these countries, the ones you see in orange. The mission remains, however, that we should actually paint the whole of Africa orange, and that we should do that pretty quickly. And it's not just for the numbers' sake or anything. It's just really the sense of value that we feel, and that, our fellow Africans should actually have access to this asset class, which is still fresh and new, that has a lot of upside potential. And it's only, it's only Christ-like. It's only the right thing to do. that we have received freely, and we should also endeavor to share freely with others. That's why the model of the which I shared in detail with the champions is that we will always endeavor to maintain this as a free, by the community, for the community forum. There will be nowhere where you'll come and then we're going to charge you $20 or anything like that on this platform. But that can only be guaranteed by you guys. I can say that as Tim, but tomorrow, if I'm overwhelmed and I'm busy, I'm not available, what happens? That's why the community exists, the champions in particular. We've talked about this in our past session on Monday, to say, if you guys can guarantee and say, we're going to take up the load, we're going to teach what we know, we're going to invite others. And I'm inviting actually the broader community, 90 plus of us, to say, are we willing to take up that challenge? And that's the question actually that I'm asking you. Are you willing to take up the challenge to invite others to come on board and to learn for free? By the community, for the community. If you are saying yes, type a 1. If you feel passionately about it, you're most welcome to unmute and just share your voice. If you're saying, yeah, no, I don't think we should invite other people, let's just keep this food to ourselves. Don't type anything because I don't believe it's the right model. I mean, it's a Jesus model. We've received it freely, we should give it freely. I really strongly believe in that. Yeah, thank you guys. Is there anybody who just wants to just speak their voice and say, look, guys, I think this is why it's important that we should invite other people? Because it's going to be sustainable if we invite others. If we don't, then, it will go and then maybe there'll be 3 people, 1 person, nobody coming. And then it's like, okay, there used to be a crypto community. There used to be, Anybody who wants to weigh in before I share the last slide, which is exciting news? Theo, please don't go before I share the last slide. It's literally in 1 minute. I'm going to share the slide and you want to hear what I have to say. Please. It's fresh. Bianca.
Tim, I just wanted to say that I'm thinking of myself before I joined the community. I think there's, in my view, there's a lot of people that is looking for a safe place to come and learn and not feel threatened and not feel overwhelmed, but learn in bite size what this whole world is all about. And if we can, sometimes people don't know what they have. Sometimes I've had people, I've shared this with people, but it feels like that's now my sense, is that they're skeptical and they're very unsure. So there's that fear of the unknown and doubt. But I believe that when they come into the community, they will eventually start picking up the value that they're getting out of it. So we might not necessarily get people in that understand what is happening. It's maybe very, people that is very new to this. And I just think that if we think about where we were and how we saw the community, and we think of so many other people that is in the same space, why not bring them into the community for them to come and learn?
Oh, wow. 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 Very well spoken, Bianca. Thank you so much. That's actually so well articulated. Thank you. Wow. I would want to imagine that that's really what we feel. Yeah. Great. So I think I don't want to drag this any further. I'm going to run the last slide, which is news. We are doing something called, I don't know, that's not the final name, but I think something to do with Crypto.Africa Summit. How does that sound? Where we have external speakers who are going to speak, including our own, who are going to speak to us about crypto in broad and give us a big picture again, just to remind us how important and where we are and why we should care. It will not be the long lesson that we have like this one, but it will be fresh voices. What do you guys think? Excited? If you're excited, you can put some claps or I don't know, just comment. Jeremy, you want to go for it?
No, it's great. It's great. We just need to check these names sometimes because you have some of these fly-by-night companies that have all these Afri-crypt company names.
Yes, thank you.
We just need to check our terminologies.
Yeah, no, that name is not final. I just put it there as a thing. We'll find a nice name that is unique to us. Thank you. So that's the news actually I wanted to share, and I think most of you are excited. In fact, all of you are excited. So that's the news I wanted to share. Because we're going to do this in September. So that's why I was saying in September, we're probably going to take a break. We're going to have just a summit. Whether it will be a back-to-back over a week, we'll see the format, which is the best way to do it. But it's going to be high energy, high impact, that kind of thing, how we do it. So we just have this set of sessions for the next couple of weeks, every Wednesday. Next week, Theo is teaching. Bianca is teaching in the next set. After that, I'm going to teach on mining, and then that will probably be a wrap for this particular set of series. And then we're going to be ready for September. So I'm going to share details as we go along. As we go along. So I think this is just really the summary of that. So with that, and without further ado, I just want to say absolutely amazing having you guys every week, and also support that you've given. Thank you so much. I really appreciate each one of you taking time on Wednesday to just come and learn, and absolutely let's evangelize, let's spread the word, let's invite the next person. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Tim. I joined late, but I caught up. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's great to have you. Please don't miss next week.
I won't. Thank you.
Excellent. And thank you, Kato, Lena, all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks too.
Okay, cool. Cheers.